Howdy, howdy. Welcome back for day 4 of our study with MACK, the discipline of planning. Today we're going to be dealing with the topic overcoming obstacles. We'll be looking at Numbers 13 and 30 as our anchor verse and dealing with the story of Moses and the Israelites. So just to recap, yesterday we dealt with the topic of goal setting, where we talked about how goals give us a sense of direction and create actual momentum toward making those things real. We looked back at the story of Nehemiah and the rebuilding of the walls of Jerusalem, and we saw in his story how his methodology and the way he worked actually aligned with the SMART goal philosophy of being specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. So we actually looked at Nehemiah's story in day 1 as well. In day 2, we looked at the story of Mordecai in the book of Esther, and we saw that obstacles or opposition are inevitable. That's been a common theme through the last 3 days, and we'll be talking about that a little bit more today. So let's jump right in. Numbers 13 and 30 says, "Let us go up at once and take possession, for we are well able to overcome it." When the people of Israel were in the desert of Paran, the Lord commanded Moses to select one man from each tribe to go and spy out the promised land. The 12 spies went all over the land of Canaan and returned to the camp after 40 days. They saw the descendants of Anak, strong men, and large and fortified cities. 10 men identified the obstacles but were afraid to overcome them, while the other 2 also identified the same obstacles, but they knew they could overcome them. But this was not just wishful thinking. They had a plan. So they're actually referring here to Numbers. So they did go and survey this land in the chapter 13. The Lord spoke to Moses saying, "Send men to spy out the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the people of Israel. From each tribe of their fathers you shall send a man, everyone a chief among them." So Moses heard that word from the Lord, and he did what was asked of him. So in terms of the spies, verse 25, at the end of the 40 days, they returned from spying out the land. And they came to Moses and Aaron and to all the congregation of the people of the Israel in the wilderness of Paran at Kadesh. They brought back the word to them and to all the congregation and showed them the fruit of the land. And they told him, "We came to the land to which you sent us. It flows with milk and honey, and this is its fruit." Very good. So they went and they saw what was promised to them, which was pretty tight. But they were also kind of freaked out because verse 28, "However, the people who dwell in the land are strong and the cities are fortified and very large. And besides, we saw the descendants of the Anak there and very large." So the descendants of Anak, they're like huge. They're like giant people. So although the goal that was set before them was very, very promising, they were taken aback by how large the obstacle was that they were going to have to face to get there. All right? So proper goal setting not only helps to identify the obstacles, but also finds ways to overcome them. Philosopher Alexander Kaplan makes a distinction between problems and predicaments. A problem is something you can do something about. If you cannot do anything about it, then it is not a problem. It is a predicament. That means it is something that must be endured. The 10 spies of Israel confused the problem with predicament, and so they never entered the promised land again. They never achieved their goal. That's something to me that is very profound. When we look at this story, they knew what God had promised them. They saw what God had promised them, but they were so distracted by what they perceived as a predicament, i.e. the size of this city, the size of the giant folks that they was going to have to come across to get it, that they couldn't keep their eye on the solvable problem at hand. And that happens to us a lot. We have a goal, we have a vision, we know what we have been promised by God, but we second guess it and we say, I don't think I can do that, because we're so concentrated on the things that we cannot solve. But we forget that not only are they not always for us to solve, we serve a God that if you have been divinely appointed to do this, has already made the provision to do so. And if we look at Numbers 14 and 33, if we look at Numbers 14 and 22, God actually speaks to this. None of the men who have seen my glory and my signs that I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, and yet have put me to test these 10 times and have not obeyed my voice, shall see the land that I swore to give to their fathers. And none of those who despise me shall see it. So he's like, look, I showed you all this greatness. I gave you all these signs. I let you know that I was good for it, and that I can make this happen for you. But you still haven't been obedient and moving for it. So you know what? Forget about it. You're not even going to see that land. So we can't forget that God is a master problem solver, and that he is a keeper of promises. And also, when you get discouraged about those things, simply look back and see the things that God has already done for you. And if he's done those things already, he can do it again. There's not an obstacle that seemingly insurmountable for you that is insurmountable for him. Okay? So, also looking back at yesterday's story, you can look at those obstacles and they shade your ability to look at your goal as attainable. Don't mistake unattainable obstacles for an unattainable goal, because you don't serve a God that sees that as unattainable. So back to the devotional. Once a youth asked the lonely old man, what is life's heaviest burden? The old man answered, having nothing to carry. Do you make it a point to identify problems to overcome? If you fail to do so, you will fail to achieve your goal, because obstacles are inevitable. God never promised Canaan without obstacles, so we will do good to identify every obstacle as we plan. So just to quickly recap, having opposition and obstacles in your goals is pretty much inevitable. It's easy to see obstacles and challenges and believe them as a sign that what you have endeavored to do is not feasible, not possible, and not even willed. But that is not always the case. In the case of the Israelites here with Moses, he has shown us that I'm showing you what it is that you're going to receive. Yes, you're going to see with your own eyes that there are mountains to climb, hills to cross, and giant challenges to face, but I'm still God. Be faithful and be obedient to that direction, because He is the one that can help you to overcome those things. So identify your obstacles, know what they are as you plan, and then know who God is in your planning. The prayer for today is, Father, help me identify and list every possible obstacle that I anticipate on the route to achieve my goals. Help me to not confuse problems with predicaments, but to deal with them appropriately. Amen. So tomorrow, on day 5 of our devotional, we'll be covering the interesting topic, who, what, where we'll be dealing with identifying the right resources, the right people and things you need to take that plan to the next level and execute it. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.